It's Dothan High School Wolves football on your home for great country legends. 96.9 The Legend. And now it's the Jed Kennedy Coaches Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jed Kennedy Coaches Show. I am Philip Jordan, the in-studio host and producer of Dothan Wolves football on 96.9 The Legend. Each week, Jerry Coleman and Ken Lambert sit down with Dothan Wolves head coach Jed Kennedy to review the previous game and preview the upcoming opponent. Tonight, Coach Kennedy will review the Wolves' 48-0 win over Smith Station and preview tomorrow night's game with Auburn High. We're going to take a quick break, but when we return, Coach Kennedy will be joined by Jerry Coleman and Ken Lambert right here on 96.9 The Legend. High school football season, and that means the Dothan Wolves are back on 96.9 The Legend. Every Thursday night, check out the Jed Kennedy Coaches Show with Jerry Coleman and Ken Lambert as they sit down with Dothan Wolves head coach Jed Kennedy about the previous game and preview the upcoming opponent. If you missed the Jed Kennedy Coaches Show, you can check out the podcast at wiregrassdailynews.com or go to your favorite podcast catcher and just type in Dothan High School Football. And of course, every Friday night, pregame starts at 6:45 and kickoff is at 7 for all the Dothan Wolves football action.
Welcome to the Thursday night edition of the Jed Kennedy Coaches Show here on 96.9 The Legend. Coach, last Friday night, took the team up to Smith Station to a Coach Bryant Garrison Panther Stadium. You know, we talked last week, Panthers are having a rough year. Coach Garrison's having a rough year. But, looking at the team, small class. So he's got some folks coming up through the ranks. But looked like he started out with a freshman quarterback, kind of threw us from the booth a little bit. But kind of your observation from the field from last Friday night's game.
Yeah, I just talking about that. I talked to Coach before the game, and they have 90 players in the program right now, and 70 of them are 9th and 10th graders. And they honored 7 seniors for senior night. So I guess if you do simple math, that means they have 7 seniors and 13 juniors in the program. And it's hard to build a program. And I was telling somebody the other day, in this region, it's really hard to build a program. So, their kids played hard. They fought. Obviously we knew that they were probably going to be outmanned against us. But I thought our kids did a good job of playing good football. I thought we really played air-free football. And that's what we just continue to talk about was, in 2 weeks, we don't have what we want on the line with being a playoff team, but we still take pride in how we do things and want to continue to build. And we had a really good week of practice again. And I thought they had 3 first downs on the first drive. They didn't have a drive.
We noticed that quick timeout you called.
yes. And they didn't have a first down after that. And again, I don't care who you play. When you go 3.5 quarters without giving up a first down, doing good things. And I was really excited to see us. We created 3 turnovers on defense, all interceptions. And, that's kind of that one thing we talked about. We'd kind of been missing this year was creating turnovers and stuff. So again, I don't care if it's a good team, bad team, or in the middle. Anytime you can do that, just makes you feel good. And we've had another good week this week. We're certainly going to need it. We'll talk about Auburn later in the show. But just again, proud of our kids with continuing to in the last 3 years we've had a carrot at the end of the regular season, and I can tell you it gets hard when you've got 15, 16-year-old, 17-year-old kids that carrot's not there keeping them motivated. And I've been just proud of them with how they've kept working.
Coach, you had an opportunity because of the early scoring, really to get a lot of guys into the game. I know you've got we got Golson in there. Jalen Neal got in and had several snaps and had a good run there at the end to be rewarded with a big touchdown. But we talked about how we really didn't have to throw the ball. I think I only had us down for 2 completed passes. But the offensive line, you talked about just we outsized them, really just dominated the game, I thought, from the get-go.
Well, that's I talked to that about to the kids before the game was, I would be very disappointed if every player that suited up did not get reps. We took 54 kids. We took a travel roster with us. There's some reasons why we like that for our program. It was, all 54 kids got a lot of snaps, not got in the game, got a lot of snaps. And we've got a lot of seniors in our program that have been with us for 3 years, and they played the year before we got here. Lucius McKenzie, we have 2 D linemen, Brody and Brian that are just great kids that they got to play a lot of snaps, and they're, the reality is they have 2 weeks left in their high school career, and the fact that they got to play the entire second half, just man, it just made me feel good. So for them to get rewarded with, again, we've been in a lot of close games this year. I think if you go back from, the Childs game was a close game. Then you went from, week 3 when we played Enterprise all the way up to Opelika. Those were 1-score games. And just there's not a lot of chance to get a lot of people in. And that's hard as a coach. So it was the last 2 weeks, a lot of people have got to play, especially those seniors. So that's been awesome.
And, Coach, you mentioned two seniors that kind of got some playing time a lot, that's been there a while. And, one of the kids that kind of stand out to me, one of the kids that I think I first met when you first came on campus, I wanted to practice a few times, is Brody Yeomans. Talk a little bit about him. And, he's just a good kid. And he, you watch him line up on defense and what, position he's supposed to go into. The kid's got a heart. He's just a special kid, a special senior.
Yeah, and, I think that, I always I think it's a great way to live at life is, God gives us all something, right? And gives you something different than me. And I think you truly judge people by, do they squeeze out everything that God gave them? And Brody Yeomans is a kid that does that. He is, Brody would tell you he's not the strongest player. He's not the fastest player. He's not the biggest player. He never misses. He's never late. He never takes a rep off. He is the best dang teammate to everybody in that program. And, I think that's what makes football a unique sport. A lot of, I think in basketball, they'll have, 12 to 14 players. In baseball, with football, if you come and you work hard and you do the right thing, there is a spot for you in our program. And Brody is one of those kids. Brian Mitchell's the same exact way that we talked about. Brian's a big kid. He's a really good wrestler. He has just an awesome family. Parents are just the most pleasant people ever to see. And, you go 4 games where Brian doesn't even get in there. And his parents are always, hey, Coach, how's it going? Great season. And so for him, it's those. I'm glad you brought that up, Jerry. Those are just great people, and like I said, awesome people to have a part of our program.
Coach, I had a flashback 2 years ago when we were at Smith Station, and same opportunity. We had a chance to get some young guys into the game there late, and there was this young man that really kind of stood out, and his name was A.J. Alexander. And I tell you what, he has been outstanding this season. He came close to hitting the 200-yard mark this week. You had some updated stats on him. And the thing I just noticed about him is his discipline, when it would be easy for him to try to bounce everything wide and him to just slow down and wait for those offensive linemen and find a crease and cut. He did that over and over and over again, and that meant the difference of being run out of bounds and probably a 10-yard run additional to what he had.
It is. And, I think a big misconception is with coaches that they don't have favorites, right? Coaches do have favorites. And for me, my favorites are kids who don't miss, kids who are tough, kids who buy into what we do, kids who are team players, and kids that do that, they are my favorite. And A.J. Alexander is one of the favorite people I have ever coached. He doesn't complain. There's weeks this year he's had 30 carries. Early in the year, we sat him second half of games because he was nursing a little bit of a shoulder injury. He's I think right now leading 7A in rushing, and we know the type of players that are in 7A. He's got just under 1,200 yards through 8 games, and he's a great kid. He's a great teammate. If you ask him to block, he blocks. We put him at slot for a position. He's one of those guys that makes our job easy. And I always tell people he's an easy kid to root for. And it's funny is I've talked to 3 or 4 people that have AJ in class, and guess what? He's also the favorite student that they have in class. And I think it's probably not a surprise. He's just a great kid. And, he's got, I think, 4 Division I offers already, Northern Alabama, Georgia Southern, App State, Tulane. So it's and he's only going to get more. He's a special player and a special kid. And, the great thing is he's only a junior, and we got him, like I told you, we'll get ourselves back in that playoffs next year. I don't care what it takes, but, I can promise you this, it's going to involve a whole lot of number 1 in some form or fashion.
Coach, did I see it right? Did Smith Station kind of honor you did they run a single wing play in there a couple of times? It seemed like they ran a kind of an inside handoff single wing formation.
Yeah, they did, kind of wildcat-ish, where they put their guy back there and snapped it to him. And the good thing was we defended it well, I guess. Yeah. So, our kids certainly know how to line up to it.
Coach, you mentioned injuries a little bit with AJ early in the year and now kind of 100% healthy. Didn't notice Sam Friday night. Didn't know if just kind of left him out or kind of an update on Sam Broadway.
Yeah, well, actually, I've talked about it all wrong. I think there's two keys in this region to win a region championship, and the second thing is to compete for a playoff spot. And it's A, can you catch some breaks, and B, can you stay healthy? And I'll go to this is in 18 years as a head coach. This is just unfortunate. We lost a middle linebacker for the season to a broken ankle. Our centers missed the last 2 games, had an issue with his shoulder. Sam's fighting a hamstring injury, and anybody who's ever had those, it's like, if you think about it, we've played 8 games. Sam's missed 3.5 games. And, so you guys, we didn't have to throw the ball much on Friday, but, right now we're not in a position to be able to do that a lot either. So it's, I don't know if Sam's going to play this week either. It's just kind of where we're at right now. Sam's a tough kid. He's a great leader, and he's continued to handle himself that way. But for whatever reason, this thing's just not coming back as quickly as we would have liked. And
the different thing, too, was that we noticed Friday night, you only had 2 captains come out. Didn't know if that was a team decision or vote or who they kind of chose. I think the team, if I'm correct, team kind of chooses who their captains are that week, or it may change up. But we just noticed it yet, only had 2 captains, I think, go out Friday night.
Yeah, well, it's been I'm as transparent as they come. Typically that is our process. Kids vote on captains at the beginning of the year, and I told our kids, I said, I don't know right now if I've seen enough leadership that we're going to do that. So we've rotated through people throughout the year. And, our job as coaches is I think, obviously model leadership, and secondly, teach leadership. And, so if you look, we've had different captains every week of the year. And it just was one of those things where I thought that those 2 kids had a good week, and I thought that they were deserving to walk out there. So this is in 18 years, this is the first 17 years, excuse me. This is the first year that I haven't had player voted captains that have been the same captains all year. And, so it's rotating. Again, I just thought that, and the leadership has gotten a lot better throughout the year by those kids. I think when you put kids in leadership positions, it gives them the chance to lead. And I think that those kids have done a good job of that this year. So instead of having 4 kids that stood out, I thought it was a chance to have numerous people take that leadership role on our team for that week.
Well, Coach, we're going to take a break. When we come back on the other side, we'll talk about tomorrow night's game where team travels to Auburn to play the Auburn Tigers. You're listening to the Jed Kennedy Coaches Show here on 96.9 The Legend.
96.9 The Legend is your connection to classic country legends. But Digio Strategies has other options too. News Talk 103.9 is your source for America's top news and entertainment shows, like Rick and Bubba in the morning, Glenn Beck from 9 till 11 a.m., and Clay Travis and Buck Sexton middays from 11 a.m. till 2 p.m. Sean Hannity, Lars Larson, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, and others fill your day with the latest news and views from America's top conservative voices. America at Night and Coast to Coast AM keep you company and connected throughout the night. Plus, Fox News, the Alabama Radio Network, and Wiregrass Daily News keep you informed with national, international, state, and local news. And with more musical choices like All the Hits, 106.7 KMX, Today's Country, 95.5 WTVY, and Music 107.7. Digio Strategies gives you more choices and more variety. Listen on air, online, and on our apps. 96.9 The Legend is just the beginning.
Welcome back to the second half of the Jed Kennedy Coaches Show. And, Coach, tomorrow night you travel to Auburn to Sanford Stadium to take on a undefeated Keith Etheridge Auburn Tiger team who've just kind of looking at their rosters, not a real senior heavy roster except maybe on defense, but looks like he's got a young crowd tomorrow night, young team that going up to face the Auburn Tigers.
Yeah, I think they start 13 or 14 seniors. So it's, I wouldn't call them young. Some of their best players are seniors, which, number one, I've got great respect for Coach Etheridge. I think, number one, he's a great human being. I think he does it the right way. Think about it. He's been, I think, doing it about as long as I as a head coach, 18, 19 years. I don't think there's ever been a controversy over Coach Etheridge coach teams. He's got a lot of class. And, to be honest with you, probably someone I've grown closer to than anybody in this region. They're very talented. They're ranked number 1 in the state. They're top 25 in the country. They've got one of the top running backs in the country in the 2026 class. Omar Maybon, I think is how you say it. I mean, he's been offered by literally everybody: Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. Oregon, Clemson. But really, when you look at that, they're everything runs through their quarterback. He is as good as we will see all year. He is good. We did not see him last year. He actually hurt his collarbone the week or two before us, so we did not get a chance to go against him. But he is, completing over 70% of his passes. I think he's got right around 20 touchdowns, 1 interception. So he's really, really good. And they've got I'm trying to think of a kid you could think Raymond Blackman type size to a couple of years ago, but they've got 4 receivers like that. They're not very big. They're all 5'8", 150, 160 pounds, but they can all scoot. One of them is Peyton Plott, transferred from Carroll. We know how good he is. So they are very, very talented on the offensive side of the ball. They've got a right tackle who's a junior that's been offered by everybody in the country. They got a center that's a Division I kid that I think got selected for the Mississippi Alabama All-Star game. So we have our work cut out for us. We've got to catch some breaks, but I tell people all the time, I can promise every game we play, we plan on having a plan to put us in position to win the football game. And, sometimes the margin of error is bigger than others, but again, we've had a great week of practice. We've competed our tails off. And, like I said, I'm excited to go play them. I think that, anytime you have a chance to play the best people in your region and the best people in the state, and now one of the best teams in the country, it really gives you a gauge of where you are at as a program. And when you get done, you say, okay, this is where we're on par with them. This is where we're not. And, obviously then my job as a head coach is to find ways for us to work on closing that gap.
Coach, it always seems that it's those type of receivers that scare me the most, where all of them should be a slot receiver, but they're so good after they catch the ball. That's when they seem to be most dangerous. But obviously Auburn's had a potent offense, and Dothan, not only this year, but in the past, has always done a very good job of being able to slow the game down a little bit and keep those dangerous offenses off the field. And I'm sure that will be part of the plan tomorrow night as well.
Well, we've got – I said it to the kids, 2 things. We can't turn the ball over, and you have to get first downs. And you have to look at if you can go out there and get 2 or 3 first downs and take 4 or 5 minutes off the clock, those can be successful drives. Not obviously the most successful drives, but, an offense can't beat you standing on the sidelines. And, we talk about this when you play teams like Central and Auburn this year. The number one way that they beat you, you go 3 and out, and the offense comes right back on the field. And the defense doesn't have time to make adjustments. They don't have time to catch their breath. And, if you look at games this year against good people that we've been right in it with, what have we done? We've got first downs. We've kept great offenses off the field. Games we haven't, maybe had the success we wanted, 3 and out, their offense back on. So that'll obviously be I think if you look tomorrow and we're able to stay in this game and compete and have a chance to win, it's because we got first downs and had drives that were able to end in points. If we're not able to win this game tomorrow and we're not able to compete with them, I bet if you look at it, we will turn the ball over or we'll have too many 3 and outs.
Coach, noticed last week, and I know we talked about last week earlier, but kind of what we may look at tomorrow, Case and Booth played a little defense last week. Will we see that tomorrow night as well?
Yes. Number one, it happened because Asim White did not play because of an ankle. Asim is back. Okay. But with that being said, our job is to get the best people out on the field. So we now think that we've got 3 viable options back there. Case and Booth, Asim White, who's been a 2-year starter for us, and Kerry Gatlin's a very talented sophomore. He started this year for us all year, but some at outside back or some at safety. So Case and Will, and I think, to be honest with you, as things move forward and even progress in the next year, my job is to put people in the best position to be successful and help our team. And I'm not 100% convinced that is not with him playing safety down the road here.
Yeah, one thing I noticed since you mentioned that, Jerry, about Kaysen is he was very physical on defense. But not only that, but it seemed to carry over for the opportunities he had. I know he had one run, maybe 8 yards or so, but because he had been out there on defense, just headhunting, it seemed like when he got the ball, he even ran more physical on the offensive side after that. I guess it just carried over to that side of the ball too.
If you ask me what's the best compliment you can give a kid who plays football, you call him a football player. Case Booth is a football player. He's got a nose for the football. He's physical. He's got an edge to him, a little thing we call nastiness. He blocks that way. He never complains about not getting the football. He returns punts. He's on every special team. plays corner or safety now. He plays receiver. He knows our running back position. So he's just Kason Booth is a football player, and that is to me the best compliment you can give somebody.
Well, Coach, kind of just wrap us up with the last few minutes. Anything about tomorrow night as y'all travel to Auburn and take on the Tigers?
Yeah, I think, we're running out of opportunities to watch this year's team. And I think that, maybe, sitting here at 4-4 is not the record that we all wanted or we all envisioned, but, we're a good football team. Our kids have worked extremely hard. I think if you look at it, I was looking today, we have 4 losses, and 3 of those people are ranked in the top 6 in the state. The other one's ranked 8th. So, that Auburn's going to pack that place out. They always do. It's a hard place to play. And I think we had a great crowd that traveled up to watch us play at Smith Station last week. And this is, one more time to do that. Again, a chance to watch Auburn's going to compete for a state championship the year. They may be the favorite going in, to be honest with you. So a chance to get up and watch a good football team. And I can promise you we're going to compete, see if we can't give ourselves a chance at the end of this game. And just like I said, get a chance to get out and support these young men and support this program.
Well, that'll wrap us up for another Coach Kennedy coaching show. If you can't make the trip, Ken and I will be on 96.9, 6:45 pregame with a 7 o'clock kick here on your Legends Network. Coach Kennedy, Coach, and Ken, good night from here at the studio. See you tomorrow night.
You've been listening to Dothan High School Wolves football, exclusively on your home for great country legends, 96.9 The Legend.